Alright, got my Ford F-250 Super Duty, the 6.7 liter diesel, 4-wheel drive, up on jack stands from the rear here because I got home from work yesterday. I don't know how well the video is going to show it, but you can see it's all wet back here. Little drip on the ground. I had noticed a little bit of spatter on my exhaust and then all up through the wheel well. I'm assuming that one of my axle seals is bad. I got like 223,000 miles on it. Gonna do my best to document how to take this apart and go through like all the Ford or Motorcraft part numbers for it, the tools you're gonna need, all the single rear wheel trucks have the Sterling 10.5 rear axle, so I guess this will apply to any other truck. They've used the same axle for a while. Things change a little bit with this newer generation because there's no more drum brakes, there's disc brakes. But I'll go through the tool list first and then we'll get to taking it apart. Alright, I'm recording this part of the video actually after I'm completely finished. The tools that I used. Probably used more than most people would want to, but I have them, I use them. Impact driver, face shield for the cutter, gloves. I had used a syringe to be able to measure out the ounce of gear oil that's going to be needed, and then a little tube to attach to the end. You'll see later in the video why. Some anti-seize, some blue Loctite, PB blaster, torch. I ended up using 2 things of brake parts cleaner, 75 weight 140 rear axle lubricant, Motorcraft grease, bearing packer, which sucks. This one, don't buy it. I got a cheap one from O'Reilly's. You'll see later in the video it broke. Hand sledge, soft mallet, regular hammer, ratchet, torque wrench, breaker bar, the adapter for my wheel lugs, 15 millimeter for removing the actual axle, brake caliper bolts and lug nuts on factory wheel are 22 millimeter, or as you were, 21 millimeter. This special adapter piece, got it from O'Reilly's. I think that's the part number right there. Whiskey 83008. You need this to remove the nut for the axle. This is just for my aftermarket wheels. Get the little hubcaps off, little pick. Flathead screwdriver, big one, 5/8 wrench. I use that with the puller. Brush for cleaning stuff up. Punch. This is just a holder for my phone that's in the way. Pliers, small screwdriver, Phillips puller, file, a Dremel, and I have like a little soft bristle piece and then like a sandpaper piece for it. Bearing race driver kit. I didn't end up using this to push in the bearing races, but it came in handy. It's like a cheap Harbor Freight one. Printed out the stuff from the Ford service manual, and then jack stands, jack, whole bunch of rags. I used the ammo can from my night vision to hold up the brake caliper, a pan to catch oil, and then I got a second pan that I use to catch all the brake clean stuff. Alright, and here's your part numbers. Depending on what you found this video for, you might not use all these, but I redid my bearings, races, the oil seal, and I put a new nut on. The actual oil seal part is right here. 2 Charlie, 3 Zulu, 1177 Alpha Alpha. The replacement nut. 8 Charlie, 3 Zulu, 1 Alpha, 124 Alpha. The slinger goes in the inside. Bravo Charlie, 3 Zulu, 4670 Bravo. I don't remember which one this is. I want to say that it was the inner bearing race, Bravo Charlie 3Z 1243 Alpha. The outer race came in a box instead. Bravo Charlie 3 Zulu 1239er Alpha. And then inner bearing, the bigger one, Bravo Charlie 3 Zulu 1244 Alpha. And the outer bearing, Charlie 7 Tango Zulu 1240 Alpha. There's also a part that I didn't get. Let's see, this part right here. So I don't know why Ford parts diagrams do this. It doesn't give you like the whole part, but it says it's the indicator, and what that is it goes on the back side of the hub, and I guess that's what the ABS sensor sees and your speed sensors. So I got it, and it's different than mine for some reason, even though I use FordParts.com with my VIN number. I don't know if it would have still worked. I didn't need to use it, so I'm just going to return it. And while I got it here, I'll show you a parts breakdown. Part that we're really focusing on is from here out. It's the oil seal, slinger, inner bearing race, outer bearing race, outer bearing, the spring-loaded ratchet nut, and then your axle slides over it. You got your nuts for the axle, and then the gasket. That's right, this gasket too. That part is Echo 5 Tango Zulu 4 Alpha 331 Alpha. They come in like a package of 4 or 5, and I only needed 1. So they like pulled one out of the bag and wrapped this around it. All right, first step goes without saying. Get some wheel chucks, put them under your front wheels, because you're going to be lifting up the rear end, so you don't want the truck to roll forward. I've already done this, but I'm just going to go through it. I used my jack, put it in the center of the differential, then put jack stand on each side, just enough so that both sides of the tires are off the ground. The next step is going to be, I have aftermarket wheels on my truck, so I got to use my little tool to take the hubcap off. If you have your Ford wheels on there, should be a big silver pop-on cover that goes onto the lug nuts. Take a big screwdriver or something and you can just pop that right off, put it to the side. Then you have your lug nuts underneath, which are the same size as I talked about earlier. Alright, then for me again, because I got aftermarket wheels, got the adapter for my lug nuts, and the 21 millimeter. Looks like they're on there pretty good. My little battery operated impact isn't going to work. Got to get a regular socket to break them free. Ratchet, I mean. Since that didn't have enough oomph, I'll put it to the side. Here's the breaker bar. Alright, dumb me didn't break these free before setting the truck up, so I'm going to go put the e-brake on. Alright, e-brake's on. Alright, they're all broken free. I'll go back to using my impact. I got this heavy tire off. Now you can probably see a lot better all the spatter and stuff. It's going around. I'm sure it's not helping my stopping power. All the glisten on the inside of the wheel. Alright, before I forget, moving on to the next step here, I'm going to go take my e-brake back off that I put on. Alright, the next step now is you want to get your brake rotor out of the way. 22 millimeter on the bolt here, and the one at the bottom. These are usually on here pretty tight, so I'm going to break them free like I did with the lug nuts using a breaker bar. Okay, that one's free. Alright, both of them are free. Those were not as tight as when I had to do this to my front axle. I'm going to use, let's use my hands now actually. Alright, this will fit on here, so I'm going to use these. Okay, now, obviously when you get those two bolts out, your caliper is going to want to fall off. Mine just sagged and didn't come all the way off, but I'm going to go get something to rest the caliper on and just keep it out of the way. You don't want to let it hold, hang by the brake line for obvious reasons. Could kink it, rip it. Alright, put that out of the way. Good old ammo cans you can use for all kinds of stuff. Alright, so that's off. Alright, next thing you're going to do is you're going to take your rotor off. Could be a little stubborn. It's got enough exposed on the back side where the caliper is, or I'm going to take like a little rubber mallet, tap at it, and get it off. And everything's really nasty because of all that gear oil. So I'm going to wait till the end to clean everything off. As I'm doing this, I'm feeling a little bit of play in and out too. Hopefully, it could be the reason why the seal went bad. Maybe my bearing's gone bad in here. Been hearing an awkward clunking while I was driving too. Since it's still being stubborn, I'm gonna go get a more heavy-duty hammer and some brake free and just spray it behind there too. Just spraying it into where the lug nuts, or the studs for the lugs are, kind of penetrate behind the a little bit. Probably could have put something to catch my oil's dripping. Get it back there the best I can. This is being a little more stubborn than I wanted it to be. So what I'll do is just stop the video for now. And once I get it off, I'll start it up again. Alright, what I finally did to get the rotor loose is I got my, I ended up spraying some more PB Blaster all along the little crack there, the lugs, and in the back the best I could. And this wasn't really helping me out, so I went and got a piece of spare 2x4 and the hand sledge, and I just went around it and beat it like that a bunch of times, and then it just broke free. So I should be able to get it off now. Yep. So I'm gonna go set this off to the side. I got that off. You can kind of see inside of where the hub is. You can see all this is freaking, didn't help that I sprayed in here, but it's all covered. This is your e-brake mechanism. It's all covered in oil. Now that we got the rotor off, we're gonna actually remove the axle. So all these bolts right here, you're gonna use the 15 millimeter. Now there's no clips or anything that need to be removed inside the differential, which is awesome. This will just pull out. Looks like from all the vibration, it's not gonna be that bad. Whew. Shit, I should have known that was gonna come out. That was dumb of me. Makes sense because you have oil inside your bearings. I'm gonna go get a pan to catch this stuff. Okay. So hopefully you're watching this before you get to this part, where you have more common sense than me. Alright, now the axle just pulls out. I'm gonna go get some gloves. While you got this out, you're gonna want to take a look at all your splines and stuff like that, make sure they're okay. Looks like I got metal shavings on the inside of here, so I think it is my bearing that's no good. And the inside of here as well, there's that little O-ring bearing. If you had oil coming from the outside of your wheel, not like the inside like me, that's probably the one that's bad. And this is as far as you'd need to go to fix that. I'm going to replace this anyway on mine since I have this whole thing apart. I'm going to put my axle down out of the way. Alright, so a lot of this dripped out. And you could probably tell even just looking in the video, but it's a lot easier to see in person. It looks like there's a bunch of metal shavings, so my guess is that the bearings inside are bad as well. Seems to be the case. Alright, next is removing the spring-loaded nut that's on there. You can use the tool we talked about before, and it's got the 4 teeth on it here. You're going to line those up with the 4 teeth holes. Right there. And then put your ratchet on there. 1/2 inch, put it on loosen, and you push in, and you'll feel it. You can, I don't know if you can tell, but it goes in, I don't know, maybe 1/8 of an inch or so. Push in on it. Oh wow, that was loose. And loosen. Off. Yeah, okay, I got it all the way off. Nut still seems to be in good shape. Put that down. Now you can see the bearings in there. Alright, put the camera down so that way I can kind of clean that out. It's already kind of loosened up a little bit. Bearing is already kind of loose. I'm gonna get a little, use my hook, try to get in there and grab the bearing. Bearing actually looks like it's in good shape. Alright, so next step's gonna be finding a little adapter that fits decent in here. The Ford Workshop manual has a specific part for this. I think that'll fit in there okay. But the part is like $100-something bucks. Actually could probably get away with just hammering this thing off truthfully, but so this one from the kit, it's the 44.5 millimeter one. And take the puller. This is the puller I have. It says in the workshop manual to use just a 2-jaw, but I got this 3-jaw and it's kind of small. Hopefully it's gonna do the trick. Alright, it's gonna run into an issue for me. Damn piece goes right in. Figure something out to fix that. I just found this little washer I had hanging around, so hopefully that'll do the trick for me. Okay, I'm happy with how that's on there. 5/8 wrench for mine. Oh yeah, I can already see it looks like it's coming off pretty good. Alright, get the tools out of the way. Alright. Put this down in here. Oh yeah, you can see that bearing shot. Probably see it in the video, but there's definitely something gone bad in there. This is all jacked up. There's a rubber seal busted. It's my first time ever taking one of these apart. I don't know what it's supposed to look like, but clearly all this metal and stuff isn't supposed to be in there. You can see all the crap in there too. And I spilled some more oil. I'm going to be doing similar setup as before. I only wiped all this off a little bit. There's so much crap built up in my e-brake here, I may just, once all this is off, take a whole bunch of brake clean and clean it out. You can remove like this little drum of the e-brake if you want. There's the 4 lugs, but I'm going to try to do it without doing that, because I looked at it quick and it looks like it'll fit. It's just going to be kind of a pain. Alright, I got it hand snug. I don't know how well this is going to pull off, but this is the way the service manual shows to do it. I don't know if they count on this being so damaged. May need heat, because there's like rubber on the back side for the seal, so it's a little spongy with this tightening on, but we'll see what happens. Cool. Came off. Awesome. And you can see that seal shot from that bearing being bad. Alright, a little bit of rust and stuff in there. Got myself a fresh rag here to just start cleaning this up. I'm going to check everything here on the actual axle shaft spindle and make sure there's no damage, and it looks good. I mean, I don't see any like pitting and stuff. There's some marks, but it all feels really smooth to the touch. And there are all these pieces all messed up. But so the next step's going to be going inside and starting to take off the bearings left inside the hub and all that. Alright, I'm inside where it's cooler. Lighting's better. I just rested this on top. This is that piece that was loose. This is the seal that I just pulled off. The pitting and stuff in it. And you can see the bearing and stuff. There's this spring, unsure how that works. There's kind of a broken up piece of metal and stuff in there. Alright, I'm going to start dissecting this thing. I think this seal here, this piece I had to pull off, the other half of it is stuck inside this hub. Similar to the front vacuum seal, except this one doesn't have the little holes in it for vacuum. That's what it looks like to me. I just got to figure out how to get it out. I'm going to pause this for now and do a little reading in the service manual and come back. Alright, don't know how well you can see it, but here's an exploded view. Obviously that's the hub we just pulled off. This 2C182 part, that's this, which is fine, so we don't have to mess with that. 1175, that part is the piece that's all blown apart, I believe. Part 4670, that's a slinger. that's what's in 4 pieces now in here. Your 1244 Bravo, that's the bearing that's still in there. And then the inner race is 1243. 1239 is the race on the outside. 1244A is the outer bearing, which we've already removed, and then that 1 Alpha 124 is that spring-loaded nut that we had to get the special tool for. So, all right, I flipped this upside down because here's my printout from the service manual. These part numbers are Ford special tools. What I'm going to use the equivalent is with that Harbor Freight set, the 81 millimeter with the handle. It says, using the handle and bearing cup installer, drive the inner bearing slinger and wheel hub seal out of the wheel hub as a unit. So it just has it hammering down. Let's see how it goes. All right, so I goofed here. I went back and looked, and what it wants me to do is, I already read this, but just push out like the bearing and stuff, not the race. I'm sitting here trying to pound out the race. So I'm gonna take this 81 millimeter off, and what I'm gonna be looking for is trying to find one that fits the back side of the bearing that's in there. The 63 millimeter, so I'm going to attach that one here to the handle. This ridge is making contact with the back side of the bearing, and I'm assuming that's what they want pushed out. So. All right, I lifted it up on 2 4x4s, 2 2x4s, so hopefully this will be enough. Okay. The rest of the seal and the bearing. Even though the seal shot, the bearing doesn't look bad, but I'm still replacing all this. All right, I got everything off the floor and cleaned it up a little bit. In here, you can see where there's a little bit of a wear going all the way around. I think what that was from is the broken slinger dancing around inside. The bearing doesn't race there. I mean, this is the cup for it, so I'm not too concerned about that in there. You can see a little bit of the residue from the oil seal. The races actually look good, the cups, but I'd still like to replace them. You can also see on the edge of the bearing here, it's a little tricky to see in the video, but that's worn as well. That bearing sits in there, so that's where these worn parts were, and it was dancing around, possibly getting jammed up. But I mean, everything still rolls good, but I'm still gonna replace them. All right, so I just talked to a couple mechanic buddies of mine about not having like the special tool or whatever to get these bearing cups out. They said to just use a punch, so I'm gonna give that a try. All right, I'm gonna try this at first with no heat. Do my best to be careful to not gouge anything on the inside, because when you press these back in, you don't want it to spin. All right. Now, this is the one that's going to be a little more challenging. All right. Cool. Did gouge it a little bit. You can see I did get a few little marks in there. Hopefully that'll be all right. The old one's out. A little bit too on the edge right here. I'm sure it's the same on this side. Yeah, you can see a little bit right there, but what I'm gonna do is I'll take like a emery cloth and just clean it up really good. I decided I'm just gonna use my cordless Dremel tool to clean up those burrs. I got this little like buffer piece on there. It's a little bit rough. And then a really fine grit piece that I'm just gonna use by hand. I'm going to take the punch on some of the little burrs that are on the surface that the cup's going to rest all the way down on. Like these. See with the lighting. These burrs, they're up a little bit. So I'm just going to take the punch and kind of hit them down, because on the inside here, I'm not worried as much. I want it to sit flush when I put the cup in. All right. Kind of smoothed it out a little bit more. You can see where, like right here, I took that punch and hit him down, then I just sanded it off again. Now I'm gonna go over it with the little buffer type wheel on this. I got my speed turned all the way down. One thing you're definitely going to want to do that's going to help is I have the 2 bearing race cups sitting out here in the freezer. If they're cooled down, they shrink just a little bit. And then when I heat this up, I'm really hoping that they're just going to completely drop in. And then because I don't have the fancy tools that a dealer will have, here's the old races. What I'm going to do, I read this is like an old trick online, is take my cutoff wheel and cut them so that way they'll have a little bit of like spring and they could get smaller, and then you use the old races to push the new ones in if you need to. So that way these are kind of sacrificial, and then with that cut they won't be in there as tight and you'll be able to yank them out afterwards. Go get a file and clean those up. I'm gonna get the hub ready. Just got some brake parts cleaner. I'll spray the crap out of it, get as much of the old oil and grease off as I can. While I'm waiting for the hub to dry off from everything I just sprayed, I'm gonna do the same thing over here. Just spray the crap out of this stuff. Alright, so what my plan is here, I'm gonna do the inside race first. I got my old race ready, pounded in, punch hammer. I'm gonna torch this, get it warm. I'm gonna run inside and get the race out of the freezer. Hopefully it's just gonna drop right in, but we'll see. All right, cool. It's in there. You can see, pressed in there, nice and clean. I didn't nick it up. Go for the other side now. All right, that's in there. You can see the inside lip. I don't know how good you can, but got them all the way in. Now I'm gonna let this thing come back to regular temperature inside the garage. All right, while I'm letting the hub cool down over there, I'm gonna pack the new bearings. I just got a cheap bearing packer from O'Reilly's. Never used one before, you probably don't need it, but anyway, that's what I'm gonna do. Well, that didn't work too well. The Zerk fitting just popped out. It's a cheap ass thing. my best to just take it by hand and shove the grease in there. I want to get the grease inside the rollers as best you can. All right, I put some grease around, that's the oil seal right there. Already packed the bearing. There's your slinger. And then I put some grease around the inside. The service manual says that Ford makes a special tool or whatever for this, but pressing in the oil seal, I've seen a few other people able to just press them in with their hands. I'm going to use a block of wood and rubber mallet if I need it. Bearing goes in first, obviously. Your slinger, you can see how it has like these little tabs. They go towards the bearing. And it seems like what they do is they fit inside the gap where you can see the rollers, where you'd shove grease in. Then the grease holds it in place while you push the oil seal on. If you're going to pound it in like I am, I don't know if you could see, but the little outer ring is what you want to try to put the pressure on. You don't want to be hitting on the rubber or this little sheet metal piece inside, because you'll probably damage it. I think it's in all the way. Using a piece of wood and stuff like that, you want to make sure that no like little wood chips or whatever got in there. Mine didn't really seem to be that bad. I'm going to take some more grease just to get it ready for when it's going to slip onto the hub, and I'm just going to grease. I got enough hanging around just to spread it around in there more. Alright, lunchtime. I'm going to splice this quick clip into the video at a more appropriate spot. I'm about to put the axle shaft back in after installing the hub, and I'm doing this late. The Ford service manual says that you're supposed to discard these bolts. They say that with a lot of their stuff because their bolts come pre-coated from the factory with thread locker. See if I roll it, you can kind of still see the black. I have blue thread locker that I use a lot on my firearm projects. Coat this on here and let it dry, so they're ready to go when you install your axle. Alright, moving along here. The next step in the service manual said to take a little bit of oil, axle oil, put it on here. Put a little of this bit on there. And when I got that open, the little cavity that's on the inside of the hub, it says to put approximately 1 ounce. So I have a syringe. I'm going to suck up 1 ounce. Oh, it fits in there perfect. Alright, so I got 1 ounce sitting in there ready to go. Put the top back on this. I'm also going to take a little bit of grease, and on the spot where the oil seal up here will get pressed onto. A little coating of grease, it's not going to hurt none. You got to be real careful not to hit any part of the rubber part of the seal. Putting this on. Pretty well. Now, probably should have put some grease on this side first, but found a little piece of vacuum hose. I'll be able to take it, and you probably can't see, but a little void in there. I'll be able to attach it and get it in there. Well, it said 1 ounce, and it's already starting to leak. Now I get my bearing in there. Okay, now I already got the nut set on my tool here. It's got the little keyway in it. You want to line it up with the keyway on the spindle. For me, it's perfectly level going this way. I could probably just put it on there like this to start. The hub nut should not ratchet as it's tightened. If it does, look at the internal tabs for wear. I saw that my old one actually had that. I didn't read this until now, so it's a good thing I bought a new one to replace it. Apply inward pressure to the socket to separate the ratcheting components of the hub nut. Make sure to wind up on the tab. Start tightening down by hand. So it basically says you tighten it 70 foot-pounds first, which is me. I'm just going to go as tight as I can pull it. Then you turn it back, loosen it 180 degrees. Then you tighten it back up to 15 foot-pounds. And it's going to turn quite a bit before it gets really tight because it's finishing pushing on that oil seal and getting the bearings all to where they're supposed to be. It says to intermittently rotate this, which I didn't do, but I also didn't crank it too tight. So I'll turn it a little bit. It feels pretty good. So now it says back off 180 degrees. Alright, got this set to 15 inch-pounds. $15 foot-pounds. Alright. What it says that you should do is verify that there's no side-to-side play. Magnetic mount dial indicator. I don't have anything fancy like that, so unlike before, I can yank back and forth on this and I don't feel any play, and it feels pretty free. You can hear that grease moving around in there. Alright, so the next step is going to be putting the axle back in. So first thing I'm going to do is clean all this up, and then this gasket, put a new gasket on. I'm going to grease up the gasket a little bit, make sure there's no crap built up, and then I'm going to put, even though I got it in the vise from like here back, I'm going to put a little coat of grease all over everything to help it go in easier. Alright, it's going to be slippery, coated with grease. Just slowly keep it as even as you can, putting it in. You're eventually going to get to the point where it meets the differential, but you'll have to feel it until the splines match up. Alright. So now I don't have the gasket pushed all the way in because I want to move my hub so my bolt holes line up. And then you should be able to pop it in to where it's flush. So now this is where you're going to put the nuts in. It's 37 foot-pounds. Then after you do 37 foot-pounds, you just put like a regular breaker bar and you do a 90-degree rotation. And the pattern to tighten it up from the service manual is right there. Looks to be your standard crisscross. So like you'd go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, you're all of a sudden seeing my rotor and brake caliper and stuff on because I did this in the different order because I needed to wait for the thread locker to mostly dry on these bolts. But I'm putting it in the video the way you should do it. So you're going to want to start these by hand to make sure everything's lined up. One thing I'm going to go do before tightening these anymore so this won't spin on me, so I'm going to go put the e-brake on. Got worried with myself. I thought I forgot a bolt or lost a bolt. It's hiding behind a tool in there. Alright, so I'm just going to use regular ratchet for now, 15 millimeter, and just get all these snug. Alright, got them snug. This is set to 37 foot-pound. Said to do in the same order. You go around and do one more 90-degree turn from this point. So make it easy. Set your ratchet straight up. Oh, I'm gonna have to use the breaker bar. Well, the step you'll be at, these bolts should be in. Because I'm waiting for the Loctite to dry, I'm gonna go ahead and put my rotor and get my brakes and stuff all set up. All right, these are 21 millimeter. Service manual says something 295 inch-pounds. So I'm just going to tighten them as much as I can. Got those tight. Now what I'm going to do, since there's still oil all over this, and the rotor's got some grease, is I got another can of the cheap brake parts cleaner. I'm just going to spray the crap out of it. Alright, last step, putting the wheels on. Put a little dab of, I got the Motorcraft High Temp Anti-Seize XL2. A little bit of that. Just hitting the turnaround on the highway right now, doing the test drive. Everything feels good. I'll have to check when I get back to the house to make sure nothing's leaking. But so far nothing's fallen apart or felt weird on the highway. That's good. Doesn't appear to be any new leak. Drove it around for like 15 minutes on the highway. So I'm gonna leave this off for like a day just to make sure, but I think job came out good. Just a final note, I just got back from putting about 150 miles on it, and I double checked but didn't record it. It is depending on how long you were leaking for on the inner seal. You may have had some of that oil come out of your differential. You want to unscrew that plug right there and top her back up until it just starts to fall out of the hole. Make sure you're filled back up so then you don't blow your rear end.